Welcome to day 167 of the New Way. This is a continuation of the passage we started looking at yesterday. You might want to review yesterday's lesson if you don't remember it. Jesus is teaching a group of Pharisees who invited him to dinner and then complained about his unclean hands. Jesus began teaching them and will continue with that teaching. Here's the third thing that Jesus says. Listen for what Jesus says is wrong. I'll read Luke 11:43. Woe to you Pharisees, because you love the most important seats in the synagogues and respectful greetings in the marketplaces. This time he didn't suggest a solution. Can you think of one? How about you? Do you like to be honored and respected? I think everyone appreciates being appreciated. But Jesus is talking about our motives for doing things. If you are serving him in order to be honored by others, you better re-examine why you are serving and who you are serving. Listen to this next verse. What did he call the Pharisees? I'll read Luke 11:44. Woe to you, because you are like unmarked graves, which people walk over without knowing it. I think Jesus said this because the people really respected and looked up to these men, and yet he knew that they were empty or dead on the inside. The people didn't know that the Pharisees were not leading them rightly. They were totally clueless that following the priest and Pharisees was taking them into idolatry and religiosity. I can't even say the word. And away from God. Scary question. Who is leading you? Remember that the Pharisees were the spiritual leaders of Israel. They were the spiritual elite of Jesus' day. They formed the top tier of Jewish society. They loved God and they loved his law, but they had gotten off track by focusing on their own rules and not on God's love and guidance. Their religion became following the rules. Yet even though they had created so many, they were not following them. Yes, Jesus insulted them and called them ugly names. Why? Because he loved them and he wanted them to wake up and realize they were off track. Close your eyes and try to imagine these religious leaders of Jesus' day. Everyone bowed down to them, kissed their hands, and lavished gifts on them. No one dared to cross them because of their great power. They were practically worshipped. They had never been called bad. They were considered spiritual giants. And I want you to know that Jesus loved them enough to try to wake them up and make them see truth. Sometimes when you are driving at night, you will meet a car traveling without its headlights on. The universal response is to blink your own headlights repeatedly and hope that they will realize their mistake before it's too late and a crash happens. Jesus had been talking to the Pharisees, but the scribes and teachers complained about the way he was speaking. So Jesus turns his attention to them. I'll read Luke 11:45 through 54. One of the experts in the law answered him, "Teacher, when you say these things, you insult us also." Jesus replied, "And you experts in the law, woe to you, because you load people down with burdens they can hardly carry, and you yourself will not lift one finger to help them. Woe to you, because you build tombs for the prophets, and it was your ancestors who killed them. So you testify that you approve of what your ancestors did. They killed the prophets, and you build their tombs. Because of this, God in his wisdom said, I will send them prophets and apostles, some of whom they will kill, and others they will persecute. Therefore, this generation will be held responsible for the blood of all the prophets that has been shed since the beginning of the world, from the blood of Abel to the blood of Zechariah, who was killed between the altar and the sanctuary. Yes, I tell you, this generation will be held responsible for it all. Woe to you, experts in the law, because you have taken away the key to knowledge. You yourselves have not entered, and you have hindered those who were entering. When Jesus went outside, the Pharisees and the teachers of the law began to oppose him fiercely and to besiege him with questions, waiting to catch him in something he might say. Jesus gave us a long list of complaints, but then he summarized them in Luke 11:52. Let me read it to you again. The summary is, woe to you experts in the law, because you have taken away the key to knowledge. You yourselves have not entered, and you have hindered those who were entering. Jesus says that most of all, the Pharisees and teachers of the law refused to believe the prophecies that were written about him, and they hindered or stopped other people from finding the truth and coming to him. Because of these words, Luke says that the Pharisees became really mad enough to kill Jesus. In his service, Dale.